So we all learn together. That is the function of this particular series of. There is no senior junior here. The GST has given you a level playing field. इसमें कोई senior junior lawyer जितना पढ़ाई करेंगे, you will come this stage very soon. मैं जो लिफाफेबाजी छोड़ के घर में जाके पढ़ाई करें. मेरा जंगल जनरेशन को ये है, पैसे के बीच मत मारो. You will ruin your life. लिफाफेबाजी बिल्कुल छोड़ दो, कितना भी नुकसान आपको. करके चलोगे यार.
सर होगा ही नहीं. Money will follow you if you follow.
Yes.
हाँ.
Money will follow.
यही मैं कहना चाह रहा था, जो वर्मा जी ने कहा बिल्कुल ठीक कहा. That learning never ends. Remember, throughout our life we learn. We learn from our seniors because of their experience, from their experience. We learn from our colleagues because we discuss with them. We can openly discuss with them, and we learn from our juniors also because every younger generation is more intelligent than the earlier generation. That's the secret of human प्रोग्रेस. नहीं तो हम आज भी स्टोन एज के अंदर ही चल रहे होते. पर हमारी हर आने वाली जनरेशन पहली जनरेशन से, बिकॉज इट इज मोर इंटेलिजेंट, दैट इज द रीजन फॉर द ह्यूमन प्रोग्रेस. और जो वर्मा जी ने लिफाफे वाली बात कही वो भी बिल्कुल सही है कि आप जितना, मैंने पहले दिन एक थोड़ी देर के लिए बोला था कि गिव योर 100% टू वट एवर यू डू, वेदर यू आर ड्राफ्टिंग, वेदर यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग योर केस, or whether you are arguing before a court. You must give 100% and you must be ready to honesty. Honesty का तो कोई substitute है ही नहीं. If you are honest, you are sincere, you are bound. पैसे के पीछे कभी मत भागो. पैसा is only consequential. Once you are successful in life, once you get work, money will automatically follow. मेरे को ध्यान है गोविंदा का एक बार टीवी में इंटरव्यू आ रहा था. हालांकि मेरे को शुरू में तो इतना अच्छा नहीं लगा, फिर कॉमेडी करने लग गया, कुछ ठीक नहीं लग गया. उसने भी इंटरव्यू में यही बात की, उससे पूछा जी पैसे की बात की, इंटरव्यू जो ले रही थी वीडियो, उसने कहा जी पैसा कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल है, मैं काम करूंगा तो पैसा आएगा. इसीलिए अगर आप ऑनेस्टी से काम करेंगे तो मनी विल फॉलो यू, पर उसके पीछे भागो नहीं, पैसे के पीछे.
ये नॉलेज आपको 10,000 रुपए से लेकर 50,000 रुपए लेके जाती है. I read the same GST which you guys read, now it's same. Because one is able to interpret better, guide people better, we take 50,000. हम आपके ऑफिस में 10,000 वाले को बंदू आने नहीं देते. You can say intellectual arrogance, yes. We deserve it. 30 साल में आपके लिए 1 लाख रुपए में काम नहीं करते. फ्री कर देंगे, 1 लाख में नहीं करते. If you have to jack up your intellectual value as a lawyer, you must study. इसका कोई सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं है. वो रिश्वत खा के वो कितने वकील सीए अंदर है, वो आप देखो कितने आगे और कितने होने वाले हैं. ये सब शॉर्टकट मेथड है. आज भी था, आज भी एक अकाउंट के फ्रंट पेज पे है, जरा चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट गो टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट फॉर ए बेल अगेन सीए, सॉरी, इज गोइंग टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट. ही फाइल्ड फैब्रिकेटेड डॉक्यूमेंट्स फॉर चाइनीज कंपनी टू क्रिएट LLP, देन ही डिसॉल्व्ड LLP बेस्ड ऑन ए फॉल्स डॉक्यूमेंट. ऐसे पैसे का क्या करोगे? You know, 1 minute, why I love Mr. Bhatia? I love him. In all sense of the term. Not because he was my teacher, I must have attended 2 or 3 classes of him.
मैं तो 2-3 भी नहीं पढ़ाई कभी.
अब, why we love him, including me, all of us love him for what? Does he give us money? Does he pat us always? To get appreciation from his mouth is very difficult, I can tell you. Because he will not politically appreciate anybody. The only thing I learned from him is intellectual arrogance. Arrogance is not an active word. He says if you are talking something crap, I can counter you. अब वो पॉलिटिक्स हो, बार मैटर्स हो, कुछ भी हो. आज अगर ये बार में बोलते हैं 20 लाख रुपए इकट्ठे करने हैं, 1 घंटे में 20 लाख रुपए इकट्ठे होते हैं, हमारे किसी कहने से नहीं होंगे. So you have to rise to this kind of a stature where your client comes and respects you, not what you do for him, what you can do for him. That is where the money comes, what you can do for him. उसके लिए आपको स्टडी करनी है. और ये जो इनिशिएटिव है, ये भी इन्हीं का अप्रूव्ड है, हम इनके बिना नहीं करते, क्योंकि ये बहुत बड़ा इनिशिएटिव था. इट रिक्वायर्ड लॉट ऑफ टाइम. गो बैक होम. आज सेक्शन 16 पढ़ रहे हैं, इसकी मास्टरी करो, उस पर 10 बार ही पढ़ो, 20 बार ही पढ़ो. I have given you enough hints how to read section 16, and we have discussed at this length where nobody has ever discussed section 16 like this. I can guarantee you that. किसी क्लास में सेक्शन 16 ऐसा डिस्कस नहीं हुआ, कोई ऑथर ने कभी नहीं किया होगा. An author can't do it. So they have to sell a book. अगर अभिषेक आनंद ऐसी किताब लिखेगा जिसको समझ नहीं आएगी, किसी को ऐसे छोड़ेगा, उसने क्या लिख दिया ऐसी किताब. Last condition, he has furnished the return under section 39. Now this assumes significance in view of Bharti Airtel judgment. Will extend further. अब आपके पास, आप रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन है, टैक्स इनवॉइस आपकी पोजीशन में है, आपका प्रूफ है कि यू रिसीव द गुड्स, आपका प्रूफ है कि सप्लायर ने एक्चुअली टैक्स पे किया है, दिस नॉट डिनाइड, यू नॉट फाइल द रिटर्न. Why I say so? If you go back to see ends with semicolon and means what? You have to be satisfied together. Now supposing you do not file a return as per section 4. I deny input tax credit, where will you go? Supreme Court. Supreme Court is very clear in this law that what is written in law, unless it requires a harmless consideration or reading down, we will follow. BKS footstep refund में, we never expected the Supreme Court will deny this refund. Intermediary पर, Bharti Airtel पर, section 83 पर, they have simply followed the law in all 4 Supreme Court judgments and section 67. Pan fragrance, पांचों में Supreme Court ने strict law follow किया है. So when we say this and or words, when word and is used after the last class, it's more imperative than in between. And इसके अलावा ये भी satisfy करना है आपको. If you have not filed return in section 39, and what is valid return? Go back to definition. Section 2, we have discussed this. Valid return. 117 means a return furnished under subsection 1 of section 39. Go to section 39. It says you will file return etc. in such form and manner and within such time prescribed. So this is a substantial provision. It's right in the act, and through section 161 the period has been prescribed, whatever 19 days or 20 days, whatever you get from the end of the month of quarter, whatever. Now supposing we don't file the return, what happens now to input tax credit? Refund is not possible, cash refund is ruled out. So we have to be very careful. So far they have not done, but few audits have given a show cause on this issue. If your input tax credit is proposed to be denied because you did not file the return. अगर आपने एक महीने की रिटर्न नहीं भरी, एक टैक्स पीरियड की, उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंस विल परकुलेट टू ऑल द रिटर्न्स डाउन. Therefore, be very careful कि ये सारी कंडीशन आपको सेटिस्फाई करनी है before you get entitled to input tax credit. Now, so far we are only on entitlement. If you satisfy all the conditions, next stage comes, you can avail the credit. Avail means you can set off against your output tax liability. There also you have a problem. This availment has to be subject to the utilization as per section 49. उसी ऑर्डर में CGST वर्सेस so and so जो भी वो अलाउड करते हैं. Now we come to last section 16(4) जहां हमारे लोगों के हाईकोर्ट में बहुत झगड़े हैं, but I think we will lose. ये जितने ये दो तीन प्रोवाइजर I'm missing, I think everybody knows this. So engineer bother about 180 days वगैरह वगैरह वगैरह. We'll go to 16(4).
180 days. We were discussing 180 days yesterday.
180 days, I think it's a valid provision. No court will throw it out.
So sir, you said that if it is not paid, typically not paid, but if we have a contract for payment from in the
I think that they allow. Set up is allowed.
That was a continuous supply conversation.
नहीं आपने उसके 10 रुपए देने हैं, उसने आपके 4 रुपए देने, आपने 6 रुपए दे दिए। हाँ right.
ये और क्या है? हाँ
We have a turnkey project. We usually sold to 10% of total amount. Now, certain officers are saying that you have to reverse for the 10% which you have holded. But that is as per the contract. The word used here is fail. So this was clarified in service tax era that failure, whenever your contract terms are more than 180 days, then in that days it was 90 days. So that will prevail. But in GST, the officers are saying no, it is fail, but it is not a failure. Your view on the word fail.
Now, see what we were to discuss in the 73, 74, we discuss it right now. We are dealing with infra projects. Infra projects are governed by your contracts. If you go to section 2, the opening words are, unless the context otherwise provides. So all these limitations, etc., shall be subject to the context of your contracts. Right? So वहाँ payment differ. Right? Question is of not supposing they say that payment shall be made in 1 year. Right? Will you apply 180 days there? Because context is providing otherwise. I'm not saying this is universally applicable. Now, if the context does not provide otherwise, then 180 days is sacrosanct. You will have to reverse. It's my advice to Reliance Infrastructure in 346. Reverse. Because reversal is you are not getting dissented. And is not subject to section 16(4). You get when you pay. What people are doing, they are giving bank guarantees and taking payments to avoid this input tax reversal. We have done this in Reliance. जहाँ छोटे cases we given bank guarantees. Please release payment. We have this problem. Right? Now this is not your problem. This is problem of millions of people in this cash line. एक केस में I'll name the company ओकिनावा गुड़गांव, इन्होंने हमारे बंद किसी सप्लायर के 5 करोड़ रुपए दे, एक साल हो सप्लाई के खिलाफ। तो मेरा दोस्त है जिसकी कंपनी है इन बैटरी,
What is the name?
मैक्स
Okinawa Mainland.
ओके आई नो विच इज लेके चलना है।
It is my next door neighbor.
Okay.
In the same
तो
building.
same building, okay.
Same floor.
अब वहाँ उनके साथ हमारा एक झगड़ा हुआ। आई एम द लीगल एडवाइजर ऑफ दिस कंपनी ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड। तो मैंने उसको बोला कि समरा ताल को भेजिए, तो क्या करोगे, पैसे आ जाएंगे। wrote them a letter. I wrote a letter to Haryana Commissioner. Since they have not reversed input tax credit, the tax should be given back to us. ऐसे ही कोई प्रोविजन नहीं पर बना सकते थे, इनको चिट्ठी लिख दी और इन्होंने सारे रिफंड लिए हुए थे। नेक्स्ट डे मॉर्निंग दे कॉल्ड अस अ मीटिंग। मैं कहता सर पेमेंट फर्स्ट विल टॉक लेटर। हाउ डू सफर दैट्स यूएस। आपने इनपुट टैक्स क्लेम करके वो सारी रिफंड ले रखा था। दे आर यूनिट पेइंग सब्सिडीज, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक स्कूटर बनाते हैं। So this 180 days issue is also for those recipients who don't pay. They will also have problems. So but as far as your query is concerned, yes, if 10% I'll give bank guarantee, take payment or I'll reverse. कि 16C का जो प्रोवाइडर को अटैक करते हैं कि it is between buyer and seller, but government is not denying the input tax. अल्बा हाई कोर्ट कोड ऑफ क्वाश इतनी रिट्स पड़ी है हाई कोर्ट में, बस 10-12 तो मेरे को मालूम, हमने भी डाली में कोई स्टे नहीं मिला हमारे।
It will have to be tested in a court of law.
Yes.
The reason being that the principle of law is that a contract cannot override the statute. It is the statutory provision which will prevail over a
Yes.
contract. A contract cannot be contrary to the statute.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने भी एक केस में किसी ने गलती ने वहां 4% CST जगह 2% लिख दिया, इसे रिपोर्टेड जजमेंट। उन्होंने बोला दिस इज अगेंस्ट 20% नो, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज अ प्राइवेट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, यू एग्री टू पे 2%, वी कैन नॉट ऑर्डर 4%। They denied the case. It's a reported judgment on central bank. When I read, I was shocked. It's just a typographical error. This is no contract. Like the Bhatia said, you can have any contract. Contract Act itself says so. A contract schedule. Section 10 tells you the avoidable contract. तो यहाँ अगर आप कुछ बनाते हैं unless contained otherwise contrary, but I think section 56, I don't remember exact provision. देखो कुछ याद है, मैंने पढ़ा था कुछ। एक कुछ ऐसा भी एक प्रोविजन है कि अनलेस अगर आपका कोई कॉन्ट्रैक्ट टू द कॉन्ट्रेरी है तो उसमें कुछ लागू होता है. Anyway, I think we'll keep this in mind. Tomorrow we'll discuss this. Let's not waste time on this today.
On interest on the late refund.
16.4. Now we did 16.2 notwithstanding, no, unless. In 2 lines, 3 very strong words were used by lawyers to ensure that if you get entitled to take input tax credit in your electronic credit ledger, you must satisfy all the conditions of 16.2. Last 2 we have discussed what the meaning of receipt, what the meaning of return filed, and the last one, you must file a valid return as per section 39.1. Last one is a bit tricky. If you don't file return, if I deny input tax credit, you will have to go to High Court. Nobody will give you relief. And High Court also will not give you relief after Bharti Airtel. 16.4 is also a negative clause, but it is not a notwithstanding clause. A registered person shall not be entitled. 16.2 में क्या लिखा है? Go back to 16.2 language. No registered person shall be entitled. Here they change the language, they rephrase it. A registered person shall not be entitled to take input tax credit. Again, entitlement take words can be literal sense can be used interchangeably. 16 doesn't talk of element of utilization. Take input tax credit in respect of any invoice or debit note for supply of goods or services both after the due date of furnishing a return in section 39 for the month of September following the end of financial year to which such invoice, debit note pertains, or furnishing of relevant annual return whichever is earlier. Provided that the registered person shall be entitled to take जो amendment है इसके हम Now what does it mean? When we read 16.2, we say the notwithstanding. 16.2 basically refers to 16.1. It has no connection with 16.4. 16.2 and 16.4 will operate on independent platforms. 16.4 is only placing a limitation fetter because it's a concession given to you. Government says कि आपका सारा जो claim है आप सितंबर तक या जो भी आप नवंबर हो गया जो भी period है आप उसका claim करो, उसके बाद हम नहीं देंगे. Now this has some serious consequences. Why courts are issuing notices is not because of limitation. Courts are trying to read what is the consequence of if this limitation is followed, what will happen. Abhishek raised a very good point about infrastructure. Supposing your contractee does not file the return or your purchasers don't file the return. कोविड में उनकी कंपनी बंद हो गई, आग लग गई, मर गए, जी गए, जो भी हो गया. Now they are able to file return after 2 years. Supposing Supreme Court judgment is not applicable to them. अब उसमें आपकी क्या गलती है? You are supposed to pay net tax after adjusting the eligible or legitimate input tax credit. अब वो कहते हैं input tax credit आपको मिलेगा ही नहीं, उसे रिटर्न ही फाइल नहीं की. You say कि I have paid 10 crore on my purchases. Now you want me to pay 10 crore interest penalty more from where? How do I pay? That will be impossible. Your entire business will crash. That is why I personally think court may accept this provision, may read it down. We'll have to see. But in Bharti Airtel, Supreme Court did not read it down. It's a very strict construction. अब अगर आपके सप्लायर ने रिटर्न नहीं भरी for A, B, C, D reason, you are satisfying 16.2. There is no allegation against you. There are no facts against you. Everything is okay. But उसने रिटर्न नहीं भरी और आपने नहीं भरी, दोनों ने रिटर्न नहीं भरी. How will you get input tax credit? That is why there is a flaw in drafting section 16. Perhaps the lawmakers forgot that there can be circumstances like COVID, जहाँ लोग रिटर्न भरने की स्थिति में ही नहीं थे. Short of whether return period can be extended. Yeah. But whether we can say extended return period, the returns are not covered by those words in law. अब सपोजिंग किसी बड़ी कंपनी ने 100 करोड़ की इनपुट टैक्स गारंटी की आपकी रिटर्न ही नहीं भरी, let us say Reliance can have 2000 crores, ई-कॉमर्स कंपनीज के have 1,000 crore of input tax credit, उन्होंने रिटर्न नहीं भरी, तो आपको कहाँ से क्लेम लेंगे? Once a notice comes to you कि sir under 73 you have not paid input tax, you have not paid tax, please pay. क्या करेंगे आप? आप बोलेंगे मेरा तो इनपुट टैक्स है, इनपुट से मिल ही नहीं सकता आपको. Input tax credit is based on section 37 output supply and which is reported in 2B. It's a part of the act now. Therefore, to say arise India, no. In my view, arise India is not applicable under these circumstances. Law says कि आपकी इनवर्ट रिटर्न आपके पास आनी चाहिए. यहाँ कब क्लेम करो जब आएगी. अब अगर 16(4) के बाद आती है रिटर्न, तब आप क्या करें? The question, the limited question before High Court we have raised is this. So we agree 16(4) की limitation. अगर मेरे सप्लायर ने रिटर्न ही सितंबर के बाद भरी है, एक साल के बाद भरी है, my return is interdependent on his return. What do I do? This is where the courts are stuck. Telangana High Court, Justice Rao put me a specific question: how can we come out of 16(4)? When we gave him this example, the notice will issue a notice to the rector. We cannot say it. लेकिन he understood, yes, there are problems. और कोविड में तो ऐसे हजारों केसेस हुए जहाँ रिटर्न भरी नहीं गई, लोग मर गए, कंपनियां बंद होंगी, and there is no provision like we had in 7(3) in the Delhi Sales Tax Act. आग लग गई तो सारे 80% exemption मिल जाएगी, ऐसा DST में कोई provision नहीं. So when you read 16(1), 16(2), 16(3), 16(4), 16(2) uses the non-obstante clause notwithstanding anything contained in this section. In this section, you have to read the word entitlement, not the limitation. 16(4) has a totally different standing. 16(4) doesn't talk of कि आपको मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा, आपको मिलेगा, आपको इस तक क्लेम करना है. You will not claim beyond this. 16(4) doesn't give you an input tax credit. 16(1), 16(2), 16(3) they give you input tax credit. 16(4) does not give input tax credit. इसे जो आपने लेना है आप इस पीरियड तक ले लो. Now supposing we go beyond this period, then we are hit by limitation. And here if I say in a court, it's my vested right, court will snap back subject to this. That is also vested right of a government to limitation as you prescribed. मोदी मिल्स के केस में जब रिफंड का केस चला था अंडर एनरिचमेंट के ऊपर, दो नॉट अंडर वैट एक्ट, और इट्स ए 9 जजेस जजमेंट, वेरी लॉन्ग जजमेंट. All these questions were raised before Supreme Court. It says beyond limitation we cannot do, unless there is a mistake of law, such as 72 Contract Act, or you paid a tax under circumstances which were not warranted for tax payment, exempt supply without jurisdiction charge, और किसी केस में आपको limitation हम extend नहीं. So limitation is फॉर्म 9 नहीं भरा और आपके बिल रह गए, इस ऑल ओवर. Now there is another question attached to 16(4). Once we say your returns are a self-assessment order, this is clear from the act itself. Once it's a self-assessment order, who can modify it? You can file an appeal. मेरी गलती है, if there is a limitation number, or you can revise the return if there is a provision. You don't do it, you accept it. This is what happened in Steel Authority versus State of West Bengal. A bill of entry was filed wrongly. They paid excess custom duty, and they realized कि हो मेरा तो refund बनता था. They moved the concerned superintendent. वो देखा टाइम बाउंड है, खत्म होगी बात. Case had to be taken to Supreme Court. Once this is a self-assessment order, either the revenue can change or you can change, subject to the limitations. अगर आप कमीशन ने आपको सोमोटो रिवीजन करना है, इसकी लिमिटेशन है ना. It comes to fraud after 3 years or whatever the limitation. Can you somoto revise? The answer is no. It's no less. It's all over. आपने किसी से पैसे लेने हैं लिमिटेशन एक्ट में, 3 साल में आप उसको रिकवरी नहीं करते, and there is no extension by way of acknowledgement. How will you recover? So limitation hits you hard. Limitation knows no equity. For example, section 107 has another limitation issue. आपको 2 महीने का टाइम अपील फाइल करने का, 2 महीने का कंडीशन अलाउड, उसके बाद नो, इवन नॉट इवन सुप्रीम कोर्ट कैन condone delay under any circumstances except Article 142. Supreme Court has made it clear in GST law, we will not condone delay in appeals. So that is the interplay of 16.2, 16.4. In my view, both are independent. You cannot say that 16.2 shall also override 16.4. 16.2 is dealing with entitlement. It is as a consequence to 16.1. 16.1 says registered person entitled to input tax credit, entitled to credit license, provided food supply, etc. are bought in the course of furtherance of interest. 62 says, notwithstanding anything contained in this section, that is including section 1, no registered person shall be entitled to take input tax credit unless. So this qualifies 16.1 in a way, it prescribes condition. If you want to enter 16 months, fulfill these conditions. It is only dealing with entitlement. 16(1) का आपका availment से कोई लेना देना नहीं. That is why availment utilization is mentioned in section 73, not in section 16. That is the interplay of these provisions for demand recovery and this chapter 3. 73 में availment utilization दोनों है wrongly. Right? Are we clear on section 16? Shall we move further? We go to 73. सारे बारह भी लेंगे अंदर है
खराब हो जाएगी.
चलो
हाँ, इससे पहले कि आप लोग जाएं, एक चीज मैं और कहना चाहता हूँ. जो वर्मा जी एमसी देते रहे हैं, एवरीबडी शुड वर्क वेरी हार्ड, वेरी हार्ड. दिन रात पढ़ते रहो, इस तरह की बात कह रहे थे मैं कि यस, इफ यू आर थॉरो ऑन योर सब्जेक्ट, देन assert yourself. But then there is a distinction between assertion and aggression. You have to assert, but you don't have to be aggressive. Similarly, when you are arguing a matter before the court of law or before the tribunal or before an authority, you should be loud enough so that he can hear you, he can listen to you. But it does not mean that you should shout. दोनों में फ़र्क है. और उसके लिए हम जैसे पहले ग्रूमिंग लेंगे में भी कहते हैं, आप प्रैक्टिस करते रहिए. अगर मान लिया आपको पहली बार आर्ग्यू करना है कहीं पर और आपको लग रहा है घबराहट कुछ हो रही है, अपने आर्गूमेंट्स लिख लो, एक बार पढ़ लो, उसको रिपीट कर लो, फिर पढ़ लो, और जब आपके दिमाग में बैठ जाएंगे उसको अच्छी तरह से उसके सामने.
We'll have 2 days for mock sessions there in courts. You can be aggressive, not abrasive. Once you talk an abrasive language in a court, you have lost 80% of the case.
आपका क्या
खत्म.
और लाइफ में इतना सीरियस होने की भी जरूरत नहीं जितना वर्मा जी कह रहे थे. इसलिए पढ़ाई के टाइम को बिल्कुल जब आप केस तैयार कर रहे हैं, एज इफ इट्स ए क्वेश्चन ऑफ लाइफ एंड डेथ आपके लिए, गिव योर 100% टू दैट. एक बार ड्राफ्ट किया, नहीं ठीक बना, दोबारा करें, तीसरी बार करें. पर उसके अलावा जैसे कल वर्मा जी ने एक कहानी सुनाई, कहानी कहीं पढ़ लें, कोई गाना गा लें, किसी को टीज कर दें, किसी को टीज कर दें. And whenever you have to dress like Rahul and dress to kill.
Rahul, your dress is very short. You are not in white. आप